All honor to Pastor and Mrs. Rosette, and to all of you, my brothers and sisters in Christ. This is a very difficult and yet a very passionate task that I've been given this afternoon to talk about whether or not we are still listening to the Willie Lynch letter. Of course, we know it may be not necessarily a real fact of history, but it is a fact that those methods were used by the slave masters. And are we still today influenced by a slave mentality? I really think if we examine ourselves, we have to admit that we are still there in so many ways. Light skin versus dark skin. Kinky hair versus so-called good hair. You can just go on down the list. Young against old, something we didn't have as much of, but we have more of that. There used to be some respect for elders. We are at a point where I'm really worried about us because, well, you know, actually, let me give a little biblical background to frame this, because in 587 BC, when the Babylonians overran Jerusalem, they took 12,000 leading Jews, the people who could read and write, and took them to Babylon and left the poor behind in the hood in Israel. Can I get a witness? And they forced the educated to speak Babylonian and gave them Babylonian names because they knew they wouldn't have any problem with the poor back in the hood if they could keep the so-called well-to-do in their own mindset. All right. And I want to say that some of us who got an education, not everybody, have forgotten from whence we've come. And now we're talking about, oh, that's so ghetto. Just got out of the ghetto. Just got out of the poverty. And acting like we are better than other folks. None of us could get into God's kingdom without His grace. I'm no better than the brother on the street without His grace. And so it behooves us to see ourselves. Well, let me add one other piece here, because my time is going to run out too. I need to preach in there. Franz Fanon, who was a famous black psychiatrist, wrote about the freedom struggle back in the 60s, talked about in his book, The Wretched of the Earth, the oppressed have an internalized anger against the oppressor that they take out on each other. That's profound. Black on black crime. Hating one another. Mad at the man and tear up our neighborhood in the life. There's something wrong with that. They taught us to mistrust who we are. I remember in 1989 when we had a meeting with the administration of the university during the protests that students put together. And many of our community leaders, including pastors, were expressing their anger of 20-odd years of promises, 30, 40 years of promises that had been made about what progress needed to be for black people on the campus of the University of Arizona. They were very angry. And some of them were saying things like, you treat us like we don't exist. And I had to let folks get all that anger out. When they got through, I said, I don't need anybody to tell me I exist. I already exist. There's a God inside of me who tells me that I'm somebody already. Here's a list of stuff that would help black people on this campus. A list that has been put together not just by me, but by others. And it seems to me we got to get to a point that Jesus got to at 12 years old. When he went to the temple and his parents left him there, and he came back and found him. He said to his mother and father, "Don't you know that I've got to be about my Father's business?" Jesus moved from external parent to internal parent. We got to make a move from external white parents to internal God parents. There's only one God who's the Father of us all, black, white, brown, and otherwise. And it's time for us to know that we are his children. Nobody should tell us that we're less than because of the color of our skin, the texture of our hair, the size of our lips, the width of our nose. We are beautiful, made in God's own image. Truly, we need to understand that. May God